everyone, my name is Roya, and today I'm coming to you with the books that I read in the first half of August. A Farwilder Magic by Alison Saft. This is about a boy who travels to a different town to get an alchemist to make him an apprentice so that he can become an alchemist, because in this world, which is very much based off of kind of like it's kind of based off of like an old-timey version of our world essentially, but only as far as how the technology works and all of that. Everything about like politics, religion, every other aspect of society is totally different. But basically, in order to get anywhere in this world, you have to be an alchemist, and basically it's a form of gatekeeping for because like only really the rich people can afford that. So this kid is really poor. He's from a poor family. He has a single mom. He has 4 younger sisters, some of whom are like really young. So anyway, he goes to hopefully get an alchemist to get him to, to teach him all the stuff that he needs to know. So he gets there, and the alchemist's daughter is the only one there, and she says, sorry, my mom's not here, so like, leave, basically. But then when he, like, seriously tells her, like, no, really, I'm here because my family, blah, 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 I literally cannot go back, I literally spent all my money to get here, etc., etc., and then, so she says, okay, fine, and basically she gets him to participate with her in this like hunt for this this elusive magical creature that kills a lot of people and all this stuff. It's this weird looking fox thing, because basically it needs it can only be killed by an alchemist, and of course you have to have someone to shoot the creature, but then an alchemist has to actually activate the bullet or whatever is used, basically. So since the girl is really good at shooting and the boy is an alchemist, they enter the hunt together, and basically it could be really, really good for his family if he does if he does win the hunt, and then also that means that the girl's alchemist mother will be able to apprentice him as well, because otherwise she won't. So long story short, they do that. They're dealing with a lot of prejudice from all the people in the town, because each of them are from totally different like ethnic groups that are like marginalized in this world. So this, what I did like about this book that I thought was kind of interesting is that, you know how in a lot of books, the marginalized, the different ethnic groups, marginalized or otherwise, are very much based off of the exact same groups we see in our society. So for instance, you can totally tell like, oh, that country is based off of France, like those are French people, basically, like it is, and it's exactly the same, taken from our world in a very blatant like way. This book does not do that at all. It comes up with completely different race relations and other such things, and so they're like neither of their like ethnic groups sort of are based on anything from our world necessarily. Like some aspects of the boys' ethnic group is taken from like how people treat Jewish people in our society, kind of, but but for the most part it's completely different. The author really came up with a good, like really well thought out society in this book, and I think that's what I liked about it the most. But yeah, it is a really good book. I definitely I could barely put it down the whole time, and I definitely really recommend it. Next, I finally finished Mother Ocean Daughter Sea. You guys will be very proud. This has been on my TBR since November, I think was when I started it, and then I only was like steadily making my way through it, and then so I finally, the book finally did pick up. It did take like half the book to really get going at all, but basically this is about a woman who is descended from a group of people with magical abilities. So people in the society, however, do not like witches and all of that. So she has to deal with all kinds of shit trying to conceal her abilities. And so it's definitely really good. Like I said, it takes forever to really pick up and get going. Once it gets there, it's a lot better. Overall, this book was pretty much just okay for the most part. Like, I wouldn't necessarily recommend it. There is also some really mean, just awful discussions of rape in this. So if that is something that you would rather avoid in your books, I would not recommend picking this one up. But obviously, you know, I'm pretty desensitized to that stuff because I literally was reading like Philippa Gregory in high school even. So I just really don't even bat an eyelid. But it is pretty gross the way that some villains in this like talk about rape. It's pretty awful. How to Succeed in Witchcraft. This is a young adult book. This arc was sent to me by Penguin Teen, so thank you so much to Penguin Teen for sending this my way. So this is about a society in which it's basically our modern world, except that magic is commonplace. Everyone can use magic, and everything that we think of that we would normally be using like technology or medicine for, like no, in this book it's magic. So it's basically like that. It's like it's our world except everything's done with magic. All like and the book does have a lot of examples of like history and such, like how magic was used in the Civil War and in blah 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 and all that stuff. So it takes like all the history into account, and so it's really like our modern world except there's magic for everybody. So basically our main character is a black girl living like basically going to a really good school so that she can have more opportunities of where to go to college, and all of that, because in this world you can either go to a licensing college or a non-licensing college, and if you go to a licensing college you get a magical license, and that allows you to get a lot better jobs and such. So she is trying to get this scholarship that is really like very much her best chance of getting into a good college right away. The teacher in charge of the scholarship committee is also the drama teacher, and he gets her to do this musical that she like doesn't want to actually be in or anything. She just wants to do all the other stuff that she's doing. But she knows, like, he basically like holds the scholarship over her head almost, like tries to like make her be in the play. And basically this teacher goes from, you know, seeming like a pretty chill dude and all of that to being like just a douche and just hella weird. And it turns out that he's actually like predatory to a lot of, that he's actually been like grooming a lot of students, and like he has a history of having done that, but she doesn't find that out until almost the end of the book, and only then does she put together like, oh, that's what he was trying to do with me and blah blah blah. So it's so weird how like she only like gradually figures that out. She just kind of like all she's thinking is like, what's with this guy, or like it starts off being like that was a weird thing for him to say, and then so she kind of just brushes it off like, I'm not so sure about this teacher, he's weird, but I just really need the scholarship, so whatever, to like he just seems more gradually more and more weird to her. And then she finds that out. She gets into a relationship with the girl who she's competing for the scholarship with, who she thought was a jerk, and she thought that they were rivals, but it turns out that the other girl totally thought that they were friends the whole time, basically, and it turns out that she really does have a lot of this like similar problems to her too, and all of that. So she's not just some douche trying to get the scholarship just cause or anything like that. Like she actually does, she actually has her own reasons too, and all of that. And so this was a really good book. I really enjoyed it. I read the first like half of the book in one sitting. It was so fun. The only thing is that, so at the beginning, the writing style is really info dumpy, and then also the magic system is hella convenient. Like, it just kind of introduces, oh, we can do this, at just convenient times, and there's really no clearly defined limits of what the magic system does or doesn't do. It's pretty much limitless, throughout the entire story. I felt like this literally could have just been a contemporary book without all the magic stuff, and it could have been just as profound and made all the same points, kind of. So I felt like the whole magic thing was really weak, but I think it was actually a really good, like, I think that the magic stuff was needed though, because it did make a good commentary on a lot of the ways that we treat race and all of that, with putting a different perspective on it, kind of. For instance, during like enslavement times, nobody wanted to admit that the enslaved were good at magic, so they just kind of said like, oh, people from Africa are just like better, just predisposed to having higher magic levels, and so then that continues being like a racist thing to think in this book. And it's completely not true, and it turns out it all just comes from like people not wanting to admit that all the enslaved people were good at magic, or that had been practicing magic. Last, The Price of Valor by Jangle Wexler. This is book 3 in the Shadow Campaigns series. I'm not even sure how many books are in this series, but anyway, this is a military and political fantasy following 2 soldiers, one of whom is a lesbian woman disguised as a man in the army and all of that. And so there's a lot. I still think book 2 is my favorite so far of this series. Book 1 is really just kind of setting it up. Book 2 is where a lot of the like political machinations start happening and all of that. And then this book kind of continues that. It's definitely really good, and I really enjoy this series. I'm not really going to get too far into what this specific book is about because, of course, it's the 3rd book in a series. So those are the books that I read in the first half of August. Let me know if you've read any of these, have any thoughts on them, and I will see you very soon with a new video. Bye!